Okay, folks, we're here today with one of our former amazing FM swimmers and her mom. This is Sammy and Christine. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Sammy, you're a collegiate swimmer at Marywood University in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and you've had a tremendously unique career and journey in our sport. So let's dig right into it, and we want to find out a little bit more about your experience. So what got you started in swimming in the beginning?
Well, when I was 6 years old, my parents just signed me up for swimming. I did summer swim from 6 to 10. And then when I was in fifth grade, my summer swim coach went up to me. She's like, "Oh, you should join club." So then I joined club. And when I was a senior in high school, I got recruited to go to Marywood.
Wow. And I know you and I work directly together, and your mom too. And so we've had kind of a long history, and I think a great one. It was an amazing experience. I think in some ways I just enjoyed it so much because it had a challenging component to it, which we can talk to in a little bit. But just the amazing success that you've had this year. The reason why I found out about it is I think your mom was so excited that you were named the swimmer of the week, and in college, if that's right. And she let me know, and I was just so proud of what you'd accomplished. It was fantastic, and then you went on to do more amazing things in your conference. So let's talk about just a few highlights in your swimming career that you can think of. And I can see some of them. Look at all the hardware you have there. That's fantastic.
Well, when I was 12, I went to county finals and I had 5 national A standards in flying breast and actually one freestyle event, I even think.
Wow.
And then when I was 13, I went to counties as well. And then when I was 14, I actually made the junior state meet for New Jersey and counties and finaled at counties as well and had 1 or 2 national A standards. My senior year of high school, I actually got first team in the county for my division. I got first team for the freedom division of Bergen County in the 100 fly and the 200 medley relay and the 200 free relay. And then I actually took off of swim for some mental health. And then I got back in, actually made junior Olympics for both Metro and Jersey. Went to junior Olympics. I got swimmer of the week twice. I was a Diamond City champion at our invitational meet with 7 different teams or 6. I wasn't really counting how many teams. I won the 200 fly by 3 seconds, I guess.
Wow.
And then at conferences, it was a very iffy meet. It's either in my events I did either really good or not so great, but in the 2 fly, I got second place. The 100 breast, I got disqualified. Oops. And then but I did bounce back to the 200 fly, and then the 100 fly I got third, and then my relay in the 800 free relay. Who would know I'd be put in a free relay? Because I'm not really a freestyler. We actually got third.
Wow. Wow.
And,
so you're really contributing very heavily to the team there, and in each team that you've been on. So let's get into it just a little bit. Tell me a little bit about and why this is such a fantastic achievement. Some of the challenges that you've been through and faced to get here, and maybe Chris, you can speak to some of those as well, because we're going to have some people that will gain huge benefit from all that you've been through, and they're going to realize that they can do this as well.
Well, what happened was when I was 15, just I wasn't really feeling swim and stuff. I took off. It just went downhill from there. I was in a mental hospital. I actually went to an eating disorder clinic. At the eating disorder clinic, I was diagnosed with PCOS, bipolar 1, actually severely diagnosed. And then I got out of there. I realized swim is for me. I could get back to it. Just let me try. So I got back to it. But just through the whole swim career, I was never a naturally talented swimmer. I don't have the height and don't have the body of it. Nothing has come easy for me, especially with being on the spectrum of autism. Yes, I'm just saying it now. I haven't really told anyone about this, but yeah, my brother's autism. So do I. It's different types of autism, but kind of the same thing at the same time. I'm just on the spectrum. That's really it.
And I remember having a conversation with you years ago. And it's funny, I don't get choked up too often, but I'm a little choked up now about this. We were having a conversation, and you were very upset because you were really, I think, fighting your autism, and you've obviously done so much to right, you've come so far, and with your incredible mom supporting you, and I'm watching this, and right, and with multiple children this way, right, and you're working so hard to get that done. And I remember having this conversation. You were so frustrated in the water. We were in Union, New Jersey, and you said, I hate my autism. I hate having this. And I said, you know what, Sammy, you can look at it that way, or you can look at the fact that you have endless energy, right? And you were having trouble like focusing and things like that. And I said, what would people give for endless energy in your sport, right? And you looked at me like, maybe it's not so bad, right? Because in your sport, what you want to do, who wouldn't want endless energy? And you have it. And so in that way, it's a gift. It's also a challenge. And with that challenge, it makes you so strong. The things that you're capable of achieving, I can't even imagine where you're going in your future. But I can tell you one thing, you've got greatness inside you. I could see it then, you can see it now. And the things, the mountains that you've had to climb have made you so powerful. And to get to the point where you're not just in college, but contributing and being one of the great team members, I think everybody has got to be so proud of you. I know I am. There's just some very unique attributes that you have and characteristics that you have. And I think you are just a tremendously unique individual in a great way. So, and Mom, what as you saw it, you saw the challenges, and you were there to always help her and your other children get through those things. So tell us about, some of that had to be challenging as a parent.
Yeah, sports has always been an important part of my life and my siblings' life. 4 of the 5 of us played a college sport. And so when we were looking initially for sports for Sammy, we tried everything. We tried softball, we tried lacrosse, we tried everything. And we could see she was very aggressive, sometimes too aggressive. So when we finally threw her in the pool, she would go into like the deep end and go underwater for that vestibular input, and lifeguards would come to the pool and they'd be worried. I'd say, oh, don't worry, she can hold her breath really long.
Yes,
we
she
finally
can.
said, why are we looking for a different sport? So we put her in a summer swim program, and she just swam for a month every year. And when it became 5th grade, the coach said to us, you probably should think about a travel team or a club team, which meant nothing to me. Swim was nowhere in my family. Every other sport probably was. And I think, Sammy's story of almost not making the team in 5th grade. She made the team probably in the last minute of her tryout because she did fly, which at that point she had taught herself. And she finished last in every single meet in her first, at the Ridgewood Breakers.
But then a year later, I really picked it up and I made those 8 times and the county finals. Like I really worked hard, like from 5th grade to like the summer going to 7th grade was like a big change in swimming, wasn't it?
And I think that's the story for everybody. I think at some point, your will and your passion has to almost outweigh your natural talent. Kids can be naturally talented, but if the passion and the work ethic isn't there, it doesn't usually work. And the thing I think that swim has done for us, she got out of it for about 18 months. And when she got back in, we actually switched high schools because they had a swim team, and it was during the pandemic. We were hoping just to get her with one swim meet when she got back. For how hard Sammy has had to work, it translates to every other part of her life. School, she works really hard. And does she have to work harder than the average? Absolutely. Making friends, keeping friends, fitting in the family unit. It's hard, but her work ethic with everything she does, I wish every kid had it.
Oh my gosh, I've definitely experienced that with Sammy. She is driven. She will not stop. And she is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So that's wonderful. So what motivated you to seek us out? How did that happen?
So I think we had done one or two other swim lessons, and Sammy was pretty good in her strokes. But when you're looking to fine tune and really get some seconds, you're looking at the underwaters, you're looking at stroke work. There's so many different areas you could look. When I came across, I forget how I came across your name, if I was referred or if I just searched. I liked almost the science part of what you do.
Gotcha.
Because what I would do is I would sit and take notes of what you were saying. I knew what you were saying initially when you met Sammy would be hard. So we would go home and I would try to explain it to her.
I remember you taking those notes very specifically on, and so you were learning as a parent to try to help your child understand it.
Yeah. And now sometimes, even though I'm not a swimmer, I could see swimmers and I say, oh, they're moving their neck too much, or oh, and
Right.
I took copious notes with what you taught her, and we would go home and work in our pool in the backyard and try to do that. Very quickly, I think, you changed your style of teaching, which was the best thing I think about working with you in fluid mechanics is you saw that sometimes the words that you were saying weren't always registering,
Right.
whether it was not paying attention or just, it wasn't cognitively there. And you changed your teaching style to explain the idea of motion and movement to her. And sometimes it would take a whole lesson. But when she was able to get those keys, she doesn't have to take 15 strokes of fly to get to the end of the pool. It's actually better to take less because you're using every motion to get maximum movement.
Right.
That I think clicked with her. She then started to get, oh, my turns are important. My push-offs are important. My underwaters are important. And then she took 18 months off, but she went back when she got back into swim and took all your notes in that notebook you gave her out.
Yep.
And made her own notebook, and she studied every single thing. So she knows that she could probably get 5 or 6 seconds off of her time. She has to go back and tweak and break down each step. And for Samantha, it's about the repetition.
Right.
It's about doing it thousands of times so she doesn't have to think about it. And I think the best thing about fluid mechanics is it broke everything down, and she knows where she has to make up time. It's just about now the muscle memory. Right. And about training her body to do it so she doesn't have to think about it.
And I think to be fair, Chris, I think you and Sammy taught me a lot. I've always been into the education and the understanding, but because when I'm dealing with Sammy, she was outside the average person's, right? You were able to help because you understand her so well. It's like you guys are just so well suited as child and mother. And you've adapted to be able to work together so that I became kind of the third person that could work inside there. And I needed to learn from you because I didn't understand well enough about Sammy. And then all of a sudden I thought it clicked for all of us because I started to understand, even though I had lots of training and education, I didn't understand her specific situation. So you doing that and opening that door for me to work with her. And I think my interest and excitement of seeing her pick this up and her capability to not stop and just work at it, no matter it's frustrating, no matter what it was, she just kept going. And she just kept at it. She was not willing to give up no matter what. And I have to commend both of you for that. I think that we're, very educational in our orientation of how we approach things, and the science I think works because we kind of simplify the science to make it easy. But at the same time, there's challenges there that we would not have overcome without your team. It was really great working with you.
That's, fluid mechanics, kudos to them that even before autism and everything came out so greatly in the last 4 or 5 years for a typical developing child who's athletic and very academic. Teaching swim, and it is almost a playbook you can do. But then when you have a child who isn't that type of learner,
right.
I think what's exciting about fluid mechanics is there's a whole host of kids out there with, Michael Phelps has ADHD, with autism, who are going to be amazing swimmers. And we use swim to socially fit in.
Right.
Sammy has a safe place. Sammy came out of the water once when she was younger, much younger, I think probably 4th or 5th grade. And very like flippantly, as we were walking to the car, she goes, I don't have special needs in the water. And I stopped and teared up, because while she said it, and it was kind of a comment, I said, wow. So for her, water is freeing. Water is no demands. Water isn't difficult socially. She doesn't have to read nonverbal communication. She can get in there and be free and not have special needs, and it's freeing for her. And I can only hope that there's many other kids out there who are either on the spectrum or have ADHD or bipolar, who maybe other sports aren't for them. And swimming can offer, not only for a collegiate level, but as a lifetime health fitness, swimming is so good for you.
Right.
And there's a whole slew of kids, I think, that we probably haven't even gotten to or given the opportunity yet. And I think
Right. And sometimes their parents don't think, because a lot of times you run into teachers that aren't flexible. They aren't going to be able to change what their delivery method, things like this. But when we see somebody like Sammy coming in, she was really able to kind of bend how far we can go and even more. And we found, like, you know what we can do. And so I think what's nice about fluid mechanics is we look at this as a great opportunity for us to learn and become better at what we do. Once we, went through that with Sammy, we were able to now help more kids in that fashion, right? And then we're going to meet other folks that have other needs, and we can learn about them. So to me, because it's a passion of ours, not just a business that we have, to me, I really invite that unique learning style that really makes my life. I have a wonderful time, because I'm going home and thinking about, like, how can I do this? And so a lot of our MindWorks programs come from working with athletes that have these unique situations, and we have to think about how does their mind work? And that's why it's called MindWorks, right? And so we find out, and we say, this is how great minds work. And I believe that about Sammy. She has a great mind, and she especially, I think the challenges for her make her even greater. But and so it's a great opportunity. Now, if you see it as a limitation, I think for every limitation you have a strength that goes with it to counterset. And I think it makes a big difference. So we know that you've been through a lot, Sammy, and you've achieved a lot. And because of what you've gotten through, your life looks endless opportunities to me. It's really because you've gotten through this massive mountain that you've climbed. Now, right? They say the easy road gets hard and the hard road gets easier. So you took the hard road to start with. And I don't think life is always going to be a bowl of cherries for anybody, but you're going to do some great things. So what does swimming mean to you?
Swimming means just getting in the water and like working out, but at the same time enjoying it, especially because like after I come out of practice or races, I just feel good about myself. I feel accomplished.
Got it. And you're now working towards, from what I understand, in the social work field.
Yes.
Right. And you're going to have so much to contribute to people with that. That's just, it's like somebody that's been in swimming is a lot of times much easier to relate to what people, the experiences that they're going through. So you'll have such a great benefit from that. In your experience, let's go back, because I'd like to get some of your expertise in here. Which of the cornerstones, when we look at the mind, right, all the different aspects that contribute to swimming, the mind, technique, right, how you move that skeletal system, your strength and flexibility, your energy systems, that's your in-water training, and your fuels. If you were to put your finger on, like, that really is something that was important for me, that I see as like one of the things that really stand out, which ones would that be for you?
Mind and in-water training, because like when you're not in the water, you're not really working on technique or stroke. You feel weird when you go off of a 2-week break and then just come back. So I'd say water technique or running. You don't really need to be like that strong to swim. You just need better endurance and cardio, especially if you're like middle distance long. 200 and above, that's what you kind of need. And then mind, you have to be positive, because if you're negative, you get so much energy that it goes into the race and your nerves like overtake it and you won't drop.
Right, right. And I would say for you, it's interesting because you've always been muscular, right? Very strong.
Yes.
So for you, strength isn't an issue. For the ones that aren't, maybe that would be for them, but that's right. Right. For you, you didn't really need to build a lot of strength. I think if you did, that would have probably negatively impacted you because you've already got that muscle to start with, right? Interesting. And okay, great. So the mind was a really important thing. We have some of the top experts in the world on training the mind that work for us or with us in our company. And one of the things that we've realized is that everything that you do comes out of your mind. Right. And so everything, the way you move, the way you train, it all starts with that mind. And so that's why we built our Mind Works program to help understand how your mind works and how you can make it work for you instead of work against you or do nothing for you. And I think that was kind of goes back to that thought that you had originally, like, I hate this ADHD thing, and it was tougher to focus and things like this. And then what we found is if it is tougher to focus, that is something, but also that you got the benefit of endless energy to go with it. So there's the gift, right? So why do you feel like swimming is such a, looking at your advice for others coming up and to the swimming community as a whole, which you are a really important, right, part of our community and our family. Why do you feel that swimming is such a valuable pathway for young swimmers?
I think having the swim community gets kids off the phone. It gets them out of trouble, and like in swim, they won't really do anything like bad. But on the phone, they like look up bad websites or go on, and it creates obesity, and it's not like healthy, and it could create depression or something. But like while you're moving the endorphins, it like decreases depression.
And Chris, what about from your standpoint, being a parent?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm a little old school. I don't love the phone. I'm not great with technology. I like the kids to play outside. I've noticed a big difference for all of my kids that after an activity, and Sammy especially, after she swims, she's able to come back and be totally regrouped and refocused. And so she swam yesterday for 45 minutes at the gym, came home and did 4 hours of homework at night. Without that movement and rest for her mind, I don't think she would be able to do the academics. She swims almost every day. She's active every day. If not, I think for the mind especially, I think exercise is great for your heart and it's great for your body and it's great for how you look. The mind, though, with exercise, I think it's really, really important. For Sammy, I do say that swim is a huge part of her life. I think when I say it's the reason she went to school, only I'm saying that academics is obviously first and foremost in school. But her having swim and feeling like she has a safe spot to fit in and a break from academics was huge. I mean, it's huge. As a parent, I think it's important that we don't push them to follow in our footsteps, that this is their journey. And while we can stand behind them and gently guide, we have to let them make their own mistakes. When she took off 18 months of swim, that wasn't really something that I would have supported, but she needed it. So I needed to stand back on her journey and follow her. And she did hit the rewind and go back on that path and go down another path. And just being there as a parent to support her and to point things out and to let her make some mistakes, I think is what made her passionate. It's not my passion, it's hers. And she's the one who has to get up and train every day. She's the one who has to do this. So I think that was both the hardest part and probably looking back now, the best part of what we could do as parents is point out to them how they feel after a good race or how they feel when they drop a second. Even if it means they were last, but they dropped a second, pointing out that was a big accomplishment, although maybe not on the podium. Build her confidence and her passion, and it made her feel good. So then it became internal. And I will tell you right now, I never have to tell Sammy to train. I sometimes tell her to stop.
Right.
I never have to push her. This is all internal. And for me, I know that at some point, this will be towards a career. This will be towards a family or a relationship. And this, what swim is teaching her is really how to put your nose to the grindstone and to work.
And Chris, I don't know how you've achieved such an amazing balance, because not only do you have, the kids that you've been working with so hard, you also are a business owner, right? It's just amazing the things you can do. Sammy, you got a great mom, and I know you already know that. And Chris, you got a great daughter, so and great kids, and it's just wonderful. So I've got one last question for you. Now that you have the tools in the fast track and you've seen, what they can do, which ones do you find that you think you'll use, and why?
Probably the goal time or the splits, like, because the splits, to get those times, maybe go to practice, and like if I do like 450s fly, hit those times with only like 5 seconds rest, because then that'll help with the 200.
So you'll know in advance what your splits have to be, and you can train down and get them instead of getting them just after the race, right?
Definitely, I think the best. We talked about part of what Sammy deals with is sometimes the higher level of reasoning. So what do I have to hit lap 1, lap 2, lap 3, lap 4? When you can say to a person, hey, you got to time yourself. This is, you have to go, 50%, then you go 75, then you drop down, then you go 100. That's really hard. That's not black and white to Sam. That's a little gray. So having that tool where she can say, okay, I want to get this time on a 2 fly. And then backing it up and saying lap 1 should be this, lap 2 should be this, lap 3. That to her is black and white. And now you've taken the gray out of hey, watch your sets. Watch your first lap. That doesn't correlate. But this is black and white. Now, when she's training, she can say, my first 50 has to be this. My second 50 should be this. And then that will yield me the time that I want, versus, I don't know, I'm just going to try to go out and go as fast as I can. There's strategy involved. And again, when you have a black and white thinker, strategy is sometimes gray. And that's a world that some of our learners that are different don't know. So I think that's the best for Sammy. I think you're going to see, we've talked about, I don't think Sammy has hit her peak yet. And I think that's going to be critical, especially for the 2 flying, getting her to train on those 50 increments of where she needs to be.
Right. And then once you dig from there, and you can look into the race map, it'll break down every particle of, the swim, and say, here's what you got to do and how many strokes you got to take and things like this. I think what's neat for you, Sammy, is it gives you independence as well on the team, because you can look at the clock and know if you're hitting what you want to or not. If you're working in the direction, like, hey, this week I got to make 13 seconds in this lap, and right now I'm at 14, and within the weeks, okay, I've got to get down here, versus having the coach tell you, you won't have to rely on that. You can rely specifically on yourself that way. And I think you having that capability is going to, because you've got such passion for what you're doing, I think you'll just take off with it. So fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's wonderful seeing you. And I'm so glad that you're doing so well. And really, I think you're really blossoming into life here. You're doing great.
Thank you so much.